Welcome, listeners, to our final episode with Sonali. And today we are going to talk about the rituals of home practice. If I have to put it in a very simple words, we are going to give you a complete cheat sheet how you can inculcate regular breathing practices in your daily life. Welcome, Sonali.
Thank you, Pulkit.
So, listeners, as we say that we are here to bridge the gaps between wellness seekers and wellness providers. So here we have Sonali as one of our leading wellness providers. So if you want to practice yoga, learn the art of breathing and get a hold of it, contact Sonali. We will be leaving her contact details in our description. And Sonali very rightly touched upon in our previous episode while we were concluding that we have ample amount of knowledge available with us on the internet, but it's imperative and very quintessential to know which particular thing works for us, and even more than it's important to understand our body, and that can only happen if we have a guide for us. So listeners, don't start practicing on your own. We want you to start practice, but start the practice under your guidance. And Sonali, why don't we make it easy for our listeners to understand how to establish a home practice routine?
Yes. First important thing is to set an intention. So, easy way to do is when you sit in some place, you just place your hand on your heart and then make an intention that I intend to follow my breath, or I intend to practice for 5 minutes, or some statement like that. You can say it with all your heart, emotions, mind, everything in it, and then actually begin your home practice. So this is in terms of setting intention. There are important aspects to home practice. One is that you set a time and a particular place where you can practice it daily. It sets a pattern, especially if you do it first thing in the morning. It will set a pattern for your day. So maybe it's a small space in your balcony, maybe it's a small space in your own room somewhere that can be kept completely devoid of electronic devices, allowing yourself to sit there and start with the intention. So creating the home practice has to feel like a important ritual to you, like you would do a puja or a prayer or worship for the deity or the god that you believe in. It's same way the home practice needs to be a sacred intention in your heart, and then you start it. First thing you do, like I said, set the intention with your hand on your heart, sit down, sit with the posture correct, take a few normal breaths through your nose, and then gently allow yourself to center and ease into the practice. You can start with just 2 to 5 minutes and continue like this. So important thing is to be aware, keep the awareness going, have a focused breathing. Every time you move away from the practice, some thoughts come in, some movement here and there, distraction. Just gently come back to the practice. Don't give up. So I think that's the best way you can set your home practice.
Sonali, and just to add, would I be right in saying this that consistency has to be there, and at the same time ensuring that they befriend their thoughts. The last point that you touched upon. When I started my
Hmm.
breathing practice or yoga practice, along with meditation, a lot of thoughts used to come to my mind. But over the months, over the weeks, when I started, just letting those thoughts slide by, I'm able to concentrate for now a longer durations. I just started with
Right,
around 5 minutes, and sitting for those 5 minutes was a very, very tough task for me. So,
right.
I can totally relate to when you say that you have to just let the thoughts slide by. I just also wanted you to touch upon the environment we need to have for such, when we are planning to practice. We have set the intention, we have sat down, but what sort of an environment should we be having around us? You talked about sitting, going in nature as well. But a lot of people
Right.
prefer doing the breathwork practice or yogic practices within their, temple rooms, the जो पूजा का घर उन्होंने अपना बनाया होता है. So,
Hmm.
what sort of an environment, really helps us enhance the overall power of our breathwork?
So I think that's a very good question. What kind of environment is needed? Once you start practicing, really you can do it in any environment. I mean, if there is a lot of sound around you also, you can go into it and, not get disturbed. But when you're starting out, I think it's important to be in a place where you're not disturbed, at least for, 5 minutes or 10 minutes that you're practicing. So, in a home full of kids and everyone working, early mornings are always the space when everybody is in a hurry. So
Hmm.
maybe for that person, an afternoon practice may work better, or an evening practice may work better in terms of the time. Now, in terms of the place, really you have to find that quiet space within your own house, wherever it may be. If you have a big space, you find it there. If you have a small space, it can be in the same room, which you share with your children. For example, they're studying there and you can still sit there and practice when they are not around. But for that 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 20 minutes that you're practicing, you get everyone out of the room and sit there alone. Be with yourself without the devices to begin with, and focus on your basic breathing. I mean, for that, you don't need a teacher. You don't need to go anywhere, don't need to go to anyone. And like you said, the thoughts kept coming, and then over a period it changed. That will happen only with consistency. What's important is not how long you practice, but whether you do it every day or frequently. That's more important, with consistency. So I was just summarizing that you can find any nice, silent, quiet place in your house, relatively quiet place in your house to begin with, and which can be distraction free, in order to get you into this, position of calming down yourself, focusing on your breathing.
So one of the queries, Sonali, we get quite often, and even within my friend circle, is the time. Not about that they don't have time for it, but what is the right time to practice, breathing? Is there any particular time, or it can be any time that they can practice?
I think to remove any kind of an obstacle in our own mind, an excuse, it should be any time. When you can do it, do it. The only time you can avoid it is just after meals.
Okay.
Because that's the time when the system is working on your digestion, so you don't want to digress that. But at any other point in time, morning, afternoon, evening, even at midnight in the night, if you're awake and you're not able to sleep, for example, or you've come late from a party or something, you can sit and practice. And even 2 minutes is enough to start with. So there's no excuse of not doing it. You can do it anytime, especially this basic practice or foundational practice. If you're doing proper pranayama practices, for that you need to be empty stomach at least 3 hours.
Sonali, this brings me to my next question. We have talked about Ujjayi breathing, Kapalbhati, and few other techniques. But what does pranayama actually means? And apart from the techniques that we have talked, are there any other different techniques of pranayama?
So pranayama basically means harnessing our prana, or the life force, the vital force. This is the force that keeps us alive. And controlling this through our breathing is the way we are able to harness the well-being and good health. So harnessing our prana, or our life force, through breath, that's the basic concept of pranayama. But pranayama is incomplete without one important aspect, and that is breath retention. You wanted to know different breathing aspects also, right? So
Yes.
apart from what we discussed, like Ujjayi, Kapalbhati, we have practices of Bhastrika. We have, like I said last episode, I think, the Surya Bhedi, Chandra Bhedi pranayam. Then we have the cooling practices, which are Shitali, Shitkari. These are all the pranayama practices. Now, these are done in different levels. Beginner level is there. There's a advanced level there, and all that comes in place with the breath retention, or the Kumbhaka practice. So when we say breath retention, what we mean is that when you inhale, you're kind of suspending your breath after inhalation till such time that you feel the urge to release the breath and exhale out. And then when you exhale out, again you suspend the breath till that urge to inhale comes in. So you Some people say it's called as a breath hold. Some say it's suspending the breath. Basically, what we do in this period is allow the carbon dioxide to build up in within us. How this helps is when the carbon dioxide builds up properly or is at the right level, that's when the oxygen in the blood is released into every cell in your body, in your muscles, and therefore they can work, for the well-being of our machine, our systems, you can say so. So that's why breath retention is an important part.
Okay.
Retaining your breath after exhalation is more powerful because that's what is working to bring you deeper relaxation. So relaxing in front of a television or just slouching on the couch and listening to some music, it has its benefits, but a deep sense of relaxation doesn't come there because your mind and body is still distracted. And breath retention, when you're doing a pranayama practice, actually helps you to deeply relax every cell in your body. So there is no pranayama without breath retention, technically. But everybody
Okay.
cannot start with breath retention. And nobody should actually start with breath retention. You start with breathing correctly, stopping the over breathing, sustaining the normal breathing, slowing down the breath, and then we'll start working on pranayama practices and then add breath retention. And that's a possibility when you do all of this consistently through the years. It has to be lifestyle. Like you eat, you practice your breathing every day.
That's a very amazing way to put it out, that like food is important for you. You don't forget about having your meals. You should not forget about doing your breathing practice every day. Uh, Sonali, why don't we give our listeners a trailer of what pranayama practices can do for us? Any one small, pranayama that we can do over this podcast?
Yeah, sure. So let's do the practice of Anulom Vilom, or the next step of it, which is Nadi Shodhan. So if you want to try it, we'll try it together.
Sure.
So let's sit in cross-leg position. Keep your spine tall. Open up your chest. Relax your shoulders. For the first few seconds, just keep both your hands on your thighs, palms facing up. This index finger and thumb touching each other gently in the Gyan Mudra. Maintain this posture. Eyes are gently closed and allow yourself to focus on the natural inhale and exhale. After a few breaths, you take your right hand, close the index finger and the middle finger into the palm. So your thumb is open, your ring finger and your little finger are open. Bring that hand close to your nose. Use the thumb to block the right nostril. You can touch the thumb to the right nostril and block it to see. Open it, then you close the left nostril with the ring finger. So like this, we will alternately shift the breathing. Let's begin this practice. First, you close your right nostril. Inhale from the left. Close the left nostril with the ring finger. Now open your thumb and exhale from the right side. Inhale, right nostril. Block the right nostril. Open the left and exhale from the left. Let's do this again. Inhale left, exhale right. Inhale right, exhale left. Inhaling left nostril, block the left nostril. Open the right, exhale from the right nostril. Inhale from the right nostril, block the right nostril with the thumb. Open the left nostril, exhale from the left. One last time, inhale left, exhale right, inhale right, and exhale left. This is just a short example. You can continue this practice for about 5 minutes or more as you practice more consistently.
Thanks, Sonali. It was really calming, and we would not have been recording this podcast. I would have probably dozed off. So, listeners, I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Where we were talking about how you can start your practice of regular breathing. And thanks for Sonali for breaking down the science of breathing, physiology of breathing, helping us understand different types of breathing patterns, and at the end, how can we inculcate breathing practice in our everyday life. Thanks, Sonali, for coming on this podcast.
Thank you, Pulkit. It's my pleasure to be here. I enjoy this subject, and every time we discuss it, I just go deeper into it. Sometimes I forget where I'm going. But thank you for inviting me. I enjoyed myself being here.
We are glad, and we are really grateful to you, Sonali, for being here. So, listeners, if you have any questions or you have any feedback for us, which we can inculcate in our podcast, more than happy to hear from you. You can either drop us a DM on our respective channels or drop a comment out there. And if there's any topic that you would like Sonali and us to discuss on, please do mention that as well. So, signing off today, we are here to help you, start your wellness journey and bridge any gaps that you might have in your understanding of starting your wellness journey. Thanks a lot.